Hi guys, welcome back. So, you've seen that I've installed one of these Chinese diesel heaters in my RV. That's on my videos. I didn't go into too much detail as to how it was done. It was my first time doing it, so I just kind of got in and mucked around. So, what I've got here is I bought two more of these. This one's going in the semi here, and the other one I'm going to hang on to for spare parts. What we're looking at is putting it right down here in the factory bunk heater space. It'll be down here in the bottom. I don't know if you can see my hand or not, but right down here. And I'm hoping to get a better camera angle on that as we get into the install. I'm not going to cover too much detail, just the basics of it. Show you the parts. It's fairly self-explanatory. If you purchase one of these, you'll want to get on one of the forums, or there's even a Facebook page, Chinese Diesel Heater something or other. Anyway, and there's lots of good info on there in case you run into technical issues, but it's pretty straightforward. You hook things up, fill it with diesel, turn it on. That's how it works. So what we'll show you here is what we get in the box. Comes with a mounting plate. And it's got the holes for the air intake, the exhaust, and then you'll make your penetration because these need to come in from outside. Manual, written in Chinglish, not super helpful. 10-liter diesel tank, and inside there is the install kit for the bung that'll come through on one of these penetrations that they flat spots that they make for you. Then you come into your bits and parts. Got a silencer for the exhaust, which helps a lot, by the way, and you'll want to check them, make sure it's not the straight through type where it looks like one of these, but this one's actually got some, I don't know if you can see it, but there's some fiberglass insulation and it runs around this divot, which helps to quiet it down a lot. You got your wiring harnesses in here. This one comes with two vents, your silencer and your air intake pipe, fuel pump, all that stuff will be either in this bag, fuel filter, air filter, which the air filter's not really a filter, but whatever. And then there's the actual heater. You can see it here. And a controller, fuel pump. And that's the basics of it. So it's super simple. The wiring harness is all plug and play. Plug it into the heater, hook it up to your 12 volt positive and your 12 volt ground if you buy a 24 volt version, vice versa. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here, and I'll get back with you in a minute. Okay, so one of the first things you're going to want to do is figure out where you're going to put your fuel tank. I've decided this is normally a bed area right through here. This is where the bed goes. There's a plate that covers all this up, and I've decided that this is where I want my tank. Myself personally, other people, you mount it however you want. I prefer to have my tank, if we're looking at it like this, I prefer to have my tank tilted just a little bit. I mean, just enough that the top level comes up through here. I mean, you're still going to get your full, but I like to poke my hole down in the bottom on this. In this case, it'll be in the back right down here, and that way you get the majority of your fuel used, because you're only missing out on this much right through here, and you'll be able to use the entire tank that way. So what I'm looking at here, when I put it in there like that, it sits a pretty good angle. Might have to notch the floor out just a little bit. I went ahead and measured off of this wall over here, and that's where these spacers that I just cut will come into play. They go off of the little bungs, so you'll see there's these depressions. That's where you run your screws through. You want to make sure you go right through the center, because those are all stamped together and sealed up. And as you can see, that's how that one will go, just like that. All three of those. I'm gonna have to get some longer bolts. That kind of stuff doesn't come with the kit, but to do your own. And then from there, I'll have my bung will come out right here. It'll come out, and I'm probably just gonna, I may come up and join up with this wire harness and just use the current pass-throughs, and I'll put that fuel filter upright right in here somewhere, so that I get all the air drainage out of it. That's another thing I wanted to show you guys. I pass on some of this stuff that they send with the kit. As you can see, it comes with this fuel filter. If I can get it out of there. As you can see, it's a two-piece. It's a thread-on, so had a little rubber seal in there, and the plastic's really hard, really brittle, and it's just a screen. It's not even a filter. So what I've done, I think I stuck it in here. Yeah, here we go. I've got a 40 micron filter from Briggs & Stratton. As you can see, there's a paper filter in there. This is going to do a way better job, last a lot longer, and the plastic it's still a two-piece, but it's a welded plastic, so you're never going to get a leak out of that. And that's what I like to do. So once I get that mounted, I'll move on to the next step, and you guys will join me for that. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys before I get the tank mounted where I was going to locate it, and that'll be how to get the tank here situated with the bung for the fuel to come out. Now, you get this bag of parts. Have 3 screws for anchoring. If you're just anchoring to a board or whatever, it comes with washers. That stuff may come in handy for me later on some other job, but not on this one. And then you also get the bung itself. Oop, you don't drop everything. 2 O-rings. One will go on this side over here, and that's going to come up through the tank and poke out so that you can put your fuel line on there. Then you'll take this one, put it on over, and then your nut. And you'll notice on some of these the nut is grooved, and so is the bung, to help you seat the O-ring, and that helps you get rid of any or prevent any kind of leakage. This one right here is the seal that matters. This one, it's secondary, but with threads, you're always going to have pass through of the liquid through the threads and out. So if your inner one leaks, swap it for your outer one. All right. Okay, so we're going to set all this aside real quick. And I've determined I want mine right here in the corner. So we're going to take our drill. And we're going to put a hole in it. Now you want enough room that your O-ring sits on the flat part on the inside. Now, a lot of these are going to look really rough, but they're really smooth on the inside. They use the better part of the plastic on the internal so that you get a better seal. Out here, it's a little bit porous, a little bit rough, and that's why you don't have to worry too much about the seal on the outside. But you want to use it in a flat spot inside the tank. They also come with these thicker parts here, which are fine. You can use those too, and maybe they hold up to vibration and stuff better too. But I mean, the material we're using for the fuel line is so thin and light that we don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this hole here. And you notice that I didn't tell you what size we're using because I don't know. And that's why I've got a step bit. Does the steps incrementally. And as you go, as you drop through each size, check it. Well, see, we've got that part fitting in, but not the threads. We want the threads to go through. One more. Not that one. One more. Oh, some of the threads in the way. Oh, and there we go. So that's it right there. Now, I just got done drilling plastic, and I don't want that plastic to wind up in my fuel filter. Right? That's normally what you'd be able to do, but I have a little extra advantage. Being this is a semi. Okay. Now, I notice on the inside there, I've got some of the plastic still hanging up. So, and I don't want that to cause me a leak. So I'm going to take something with an edge and just scrape that loose. Looks like I've just about got it. There we go. So I'll drop out, see if it comes out, and there it goes. Okay. All right, so now, how do we get this up through? That's a good question, right? Show you a little something. Get yourself some string, small piece of wire, you know, whatever you've got laying around that's handy. Thread it through your bung, right? And you would think that you could thread this through and poke it up through there. No, you want to take your wire, run it in first. I can see it through the plastic here, making its way down. You want it to drop out through the neck. Come on, you. Oh, it's just curling all the wrong way. Oh, I can almost reach it in there. Come on, you. Let's do this again. Get that wire a little bit straighter. That's why I like to use wire. You can shape it. And we'll just go through with this end. There it goes. Okay, comes out like that. Now, thread that through. Here's what I like to do. Coil it around something. And you've got basically a spring that you'll be able to pull through. And ta-da! All right, we've got something though. O-ring. Where did I put those? There we go. Just like so. Remember, coil it tight. Uh-oh, getting a phone call. There we go. Now we're going to hold that while we pull that right on out. Next to go on is your other O-ring. When you drop it right here, you just do it all over again, no biggie. Super, super easy. Now that O-ring's on there, it's going to hold it for me. Still got to be gentle, don't want to lose it. And there you go. Ta-da! All done. Okay, back at it here. Got a little bit done. I explained I was going to mount this thing in here, and if you can see a little bit of a gap at the bottom, it's tipped a little bit this direction, making the fill nozzle really easy to get to, and the whole assembly's out of the way, because when I'm living in here, everything's got to be tight and neat and easy to get to. I've also done a little bit of the plumbing. If you can see, I put the filter in right here. Here's where the outlet comes out. I had no choice but to leave a little bit of this exposed, just based off of where this wound up sitting, so that I could get to the fill nozzle. Not a big deal. So what I did here is I just warmed this up. Man, I'll tell you, a heat gun is your best friend when you're doing cold weather installs. Warm things up a little bit, and they get pliable and flexible, allows these fittings to slide on even better. The other thing I wanted to point out for install, when you're tightening these clamps, use a pair of channel locks and grab the bottom of it, and then use your screwdriver. So as you can see, I've got the spacers in behind here. Had a little bit of help getting the back side of that wall, and then just anchored them in. It's solid. And that pipe runs up here, along there, back there to the fuel pump. Now, it's been explained to me that the fuel pump needs to be 45 degrees. I don't know why that is, but the direction of flow is the fitting for it is over here in the direction of flow, and then suspending it helps to eliminate a lot of the noise. So I've still got to zip that to that one right there, and then it'll be suspended in that wire loom right there. Everything's all done up to that point. Next, I'm going to position and drill the holes for the heater to go through, for the pipes to the exterior. I'll run that vinyl hose over and then penetrate through the floor right about in there, and then that'll loop underneath the floor and go right into the heater. After that, I mean, all that's left is the wiring harness, and I'll give you a bit of that. My idea is to take it and put it over here on this panel. Let's see if I can tip that up just a little bit. There we go. Over here onto this panel right here, so that I have control of that. If not there, then I want to put it right here on this panel. I usually sleep with my head to this end, so it'll probably go up over here. And that's provided I should have enough run to be able to do that, run it up behind the wall, and we should be good to go. All right, so next time you see, this guy right here will be positioned and installed, and I'll be doing the wiring harness after that. All right. All right, guys. Come back on part of the install here. I've gone ahead and cut the holes through the floor for the exhaust intake and fuel pipe, and the 4-bolt holes that mount the unit down. I did that by tracing where those holes are, like so, on that mounting plate. And these will get anchored down with sheet metal screws, and that'll be the end of that part of it. And some of these guys, when they're installing these, they have to go through wood. I'm going through metal, so I don't have to worry about how close everything is to the exhaust. But you can lop out this entire area just as long as you've got this pad touching down and a place to anchor the 4 corners of it, so that you don't have anything coming up against your exhaust pipe over here. The other thing I've done is I've gone ahead and I've cut this hole right there for this vent right here, and it's going to be a real short vent, but it comes through on that side. I don't know if you can see it very well or not, but anyway, there it is. That'll get anchored in with a sheet metal screw as well. These holes, just to give you a little bit of an idea, 1 1/8 is what the step bit was to get to that size right there. 1 1/8 on I have a very large size step bit. and that got me through the floor there. So the next thing to do is to put the heater down, and I'll show you the underside next, I believe, as I'm hooking up the exhaust and the intake and the fuel pipe. I'm going to go ahead and run that fuel pipe over. It comes from over here. I'm going to run it along the floor right there, curl it back, and just drop down through the floor right here. There's rivets along the back side of the floor here to tell me where the support frame is underneath this thing. So this is all open, so I'll drop through here with a grommet, and that'll swing up underneath and join up with the fuel pipe on the bottom side. And you'll see that here in just a bit. Good morning. It's the next day. Well, I got finished last night. Have you take a look here. I got a grommet installed for the fuel line to go through. You saw I had that hole done yesterday. The plate is now mounted down. Got the vent through and the cap on. These things are kind of cool because they rotate to give you the different directions. Figure I'll just be blasting it straight out into the main part of the cab anyway. So with all that done, I also yesterday was able to go underneath. Okay, so here we are up underneath the truck. You can see backside of the grommet coming through. Fuel line goes up, makes its connection. We got the air breather line and the exhaust line. The exhaust jumps out and over the rail. I'll show you that in a second. And then the air breather comes up and over and is anchored by that other strap. And there it is. Okay, silencer. It comes out. This is the back end of the sleeper over here, as you can see. And right up here, above the fuel tank, suspended by a wire. I decided to go with wire because I wanted it to come basically straight out. I've got some wiring over here, but I mean, that's sturdy and will allow some road vibration. Passes through the hole twice and wraps around it once each. So yeah, that should hold up. And then if I ever need to replace that, it'll happen really fast and easy. But there it is. And the exhaust doesn't run into any other wiring straight away, so everything should be protected from the heat, and a good gap above the fuel tank. So there's that part of it. Okay guys, electrical is done. Last thing to do here is to prime the system, but I wanted to show you first. You can see the wire running. I just ran it with the fuel line over to the harness that plugs in. So this is a super simple setup. Like they couldn't have made this any easier for the user. The hardest part is doing all of the prep work to get it installed, and then all of a sudden click 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 and you're done. So you got 3 plugs. You got one right here on the fuel pump, one right down here at that's the main harness connection because the control board's in here, and then you've got a control wire that runs to your LCD display. And I've routed mine. I've left my setup open so I can show you this, and I routed mine around and back up through the along with the stock wiring harness. But I did this so that I could leave it open and show you. If you look at the back where that comes through, I just drilled a hole in the panel and then mounted the clip so that it fits just over the hole. It's kind of exposed, but you'd have to be looking for it to see it, and I kind of like things to be clean installs like that. The only thing that really frustrates me about this is the second one I've done is with these mounting locations. If you were to mount a normal screw into just a plain hole that they've got there, it'll sit above flush and the control board won't be able to sit down in flat and clip in properly. So what you have to do is you have to take a countersink the holes out of you a little bit, and use a standard wood screw wire that's coming in. I run my own power wire and shorten up that connection to the main body just as short as I can, and then I used just metal for ground. So that's that. I am all set here to plug in my fuse. I also went ahead and filled my fuel tank right there. You can see it. So I'm not sure how much of that you guys saw as far as the wiring goes, but I got this head mounted camera. Anyway, next thing to do is go ahead and button everything up except for this panel right here, and then hook up my fuse into my setup, which let me actually go out and show you guys what I did and how I do mine in this semi. They don't give you a lot of options for additional add-ons with these factory semis, so you kind of have to add your own systems, and that's just what I've done. I got a Blue Sea fuse box right here that I've added in by this power wire, and these just have jumpers all the way across so that you can just tap on and add a fuse. I like the self-glowing fuses, the ones that when they blow, they glow, so you know which ones are bad. That way changing them out in the dark is really easy, but that just runs up. I've yet to zip tie that to the harness underneath here, but that's the gist of it. I mean, that's how easy it is right there. Next thing you'll see is me priming it up. Okay, so in the process of getting everything set up, I found a leak. It was right there at that fitting. It was coming through the threads. So I had to disassemble everything. I had to get some different hose clamps. Got some different fuel pipe, stuff that's even better rated for what we're doing here anyway. But the leak has now stopped and we're in good shape. So what I wanted to do was, I got the power hooked up, we're all lit up. I already set the time and stuff. You guys are looking for that kind of information, you're gonna find it on the web better than through me. So anyway, you take and press OK and the down button and hold, and it'll say H off, and what that is that's just the pump. So this will cycle the pump to prime it, and all we have to do is press up to turn it on and down to turn it back off again. So we're going to turn it on. Anyway, that's how you prime. I'm going to go ahead and prime the system, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a first fire. Alright, so here we go. It's running. Cranking out some air so hot I can't even hold my hand in it. You can barely hear that noise. From where I'm sitting, I can barely hear it. And I'm going to be laying on top of this, so for it to be as quiet as possible, that'd be great. Yep. We've got full reds, no overheat. Bubbles are all gone out of the fuel line. Just chugging away, and that's how it should work. So there you go. That's it, all done in a semi. So you try to do one of these, have fun, careful, try not to make mistakes, and if you've got any questions, there are forums and a Facebook page out there for you. So have a good one.